Hello again. This is my DPS skill build for heroic and legendary content. This build is hyper-focused on damage, so survivability is an issue as with most similar builds. It is great at killing dangerous enemies like mini-tanks, warhounds, or heavy gunners, or other armored units. You will need good positioning, generally somewhat away from your turret, and always behind cover. This build works well solo and in groups, and although you die fast, you rarely do. The main part of this build are the weapons and the talents. For the weapons, I use the Test Subject Assault Rifle as well as the Capacitor. For the weapons, you have 4 very good choices. First is the Test Subject New Assault Rifle. It comes with perfectly in sync, so if you shoot an enemy and your skill shoots an enemy, you get a total of 40% both weapon damage and skill damage for 5 seconds. Quite good. Alternatively, there's the Harmony Rifle, which has the same talent. As for exotics, I personally use the Capacitor as it's very similar to this test subject. For every yellow skill tier, we get 7.5% weapon damage, which comes out to 45% weapon damage for free. Shooting enemies builds stacks to a cap of 40. Each stack grants 1.5% skill damage. After 5 seconds, stacks decay 1 per second. This means that fully buffed, this gives you 60 skill damage, which is a bit more than test subject. A nice alternative if no one is using it already is the Scorpio shotgun. If you shoot an enemy 3 times, they get disoriented, and 6 times they get shocked. Both of these cancel whatever the enemy is doing, such as shooting you or throwing grenades. If you shoot them 7 times, they take an additional 20% more damage. So in a group setting, this is really useful. For the pistol, I personally use the Card Custom, but it doesn't really matter as long as you have in sync, just in case you run out of ammo. For the gear pieces, you want 3 pieces of Empress, the new brand set. You want 1 piece Wyvern for the skill damage, and you want 2 pieces of Hannah Yu for the other skill damage. You want every piece to roll skill haste and skill damage. As for your mods, you will want skill haste. For the chest piece, you have 2 main options for your talent. I personally use kinetic momentum. Glass cannon does do a bit more damage, but because you are shooting, you might end up dying with just 1 hit. Therefore, I prefer to use kinetic momentum. The description on this doesn't really tell you how good it actually is. Stacks increase your total skill damage by 1%, up to 15 stacks. This means that each skill can give you 15% skill damage. What it doesn't tell you, though, is that both of your skills work. If both your skills are not on cooldown and they're active, and you are in combat, you can get a total of 30% skill damage. For the backpack, I use tech support. Skill kills increase total skill damage by 25% for 20 seconds. You can use combined arms if you really want to, but I prefer this as you can stay in cover for longer. Finally, if you don't know what skill efficiency is, it's actually every skill stat combined. This means skill health, skill damage, status effects, skill duration, skill healing, and whatever else that I might be missing. As for exotics like the waveform, I've tested it out and personally I don't like the waveform for this build. Since both of your skills are always doing damage, waveform swaps the damage from one side to the other, but it does give you a bit more. Technically, this would be more damage. However, because we use the Hannah Yu here, and we have no piece to remove without losing damage, for example, if we remove 1 piece of Hannah Yu to swap that in, we'd lose 10%. This would give us 30, so the net gain would be an extra 10%. However, I don't think that's really worth it. As for the skills, we have the Assault Turret and the Drone. My Assault Turret does 131k damage base, and this does have a 5% damage mod. The Drone does 82k damage, and it also has a decent damage mod. Now let's go check out the shooting range. Now one extra thing to note is because we are using Technician, we get an extra skill tier. If you happen to get a God Roll item with maximum skill damage and ideally maximum skill haste, you could actually roll a red attribute right here and get yourself 15% extra weapon damage. If you're trying to min-max, this might be good for you. That won't be too useful in something like legendary missions, but it could be pretty good in heroics. Now let's see how much damage this build does. Now, because both our skills are off cooldown and we are in combat, our kinetic momentum is already active. Now it does 170k damage. Now with 1 kill, it hits 203k. Now let's also shoot. with the test subject first. We're hitting 240k now. Now let's buff it up with this gun. We're hitting 259,000. Now I do believe 259,000 is about as much as it can possibly hit, at least with this build. Like I said, if you want, you could put on glass cannon to do even more damage. However, you won't be able to shoot as much since the enemies will be able to down you in just a few shots.
I'm with you. Yeah. Damn, I'm stuck. Get that thing off me.
We need to figure out what they're doing here.
Gotta stay clear of the drone.
Fucking division!
By these images. At one point, more than 3.8 billion years ago, one-third of the Martian surface could have been covered by ocean. Martian exploratory craft have sent us evidence of more recent water flows as well, ranging from gullies and dry river systems to what appear to be ancient breakways. There are also minerals present on the surface of Mars that could only have been formed in a liquid water environment. Today, water can be found on Mars largely at the Martian North Pole, although small quantities exist as water vapor in the thin Martian atmosphere, or as brown.
Components identified. Suggested use. Missile construction.
They must be using a casing from the museum's collection. If they can rig it with a warhead and some means of propulsion, they wouldn't even need a guidance system to hit the White House or a settlement.
Kinda goes without saying, but if you see any missiles lying around, make sure they can never, ever be used.
son's munitions factory is out of action and...
Got an enemy drone!
You wanna keep this down?
Reinforcements
Take them out.
incoming.
Another hit and I'm screwed! One down!
My armor's all chewed up.
Wake up! Your flank!
Find a better.
Going to that car! Trying to surrender!